certification, recertification, and cost. API 653 certificate is valid for a 3-year term and costs $940 for initial exam. After 3 years, you need to apply for recertification, demonstrating that you still work as an API 653 inspector for 20% of the time. And recertification costs $730. You may apply for recertification 90 days prior to the certification expiration date, and for a 90-day grace period after that, subject to a late application fee of $150. If you do not submit your application even after 90-day grace period following the expiry of your certificate, then you lose your certificate. A new application and a full fee must be paid, and you have to pass the full version of the initial exam in order to be recertified. API inspectors are required to take an online open quiz every 6 years in order to recertify. And each quiz has 25 questions that address the changes in the relevant API codes over the past 6 years. You have a total of 4 hours to complete the quiz, and it may be paused or interrupted up to 3 times. If you fail the quiz once, you can take it again. But if you fail the second time, you will not be able to recertify. In this case, you have to submit a new application and take the full version of the exam to recertify again, the initial exam. Publication effectivity sheet and knowledge, body of knowledge. Publication effectivity sheet is the list of applicable reference documents that you need to study for the exam. It also tells you which section you have to do, and it also tells you the revision number of that code or recommended practice. And anything in red would actually indicate that there is a revision or change from the previous publication effectivity sheet. That some codes might have a new revision, or some parts may be added to the next exam window. Body of knowledge also lists the reference codes and recommended practices, but without the revision number. But here it elaborates on topics that the pressure vessel inspector needs to know, giving example. It shows you what you are expected to know. So how they actually come to this publication effectivity sheet and body of knowledge is that they prepare, API prepares a job description, a typical job description of an API 653 storage tank inspector. And then based on the job description, they would say, okay, what he expected to know, and then for that to be verified during the exam, that expectation from knowledge and experience or expertise of a storage tank inspector, the question are set. Area of examination scores. So you can see that there is you receive a sample score sheet here. You can see here, that's what you receive your exam. I tell you the maximum score you can get from each area. So for example, for scope and general applications, there would be 5 questions, corrosion mitigation 15, repairs 15, NDE and welding as well as 15, design 10, so there are not many design questions as you can see. Planning is 20, inspection and testing practices are 15, and data evaluation, so they give you a scenario and you have to decide what to do with that. So that is 24. Roles and responsibilities, so you should know your roles or other people's roles, like a tank design engineer and a process engineer or a corrosion specialist or ND examiner, and your relationship with them. That's 6, a total score of 140. Okay, let's have some exam tips here. So when you do the API exam, you might calculate and come to some numbers, with 4 digits. So you can always round it off. So the answers you see, they are far apart from each other. It wouldn't say if the answer you got is 0.0075, it's never going to be 0.0075, 74, 73. The other answer would be far apart from this. So it's safe to round it off to say 0.007, and same as like other examples. Since both metric and US units are used, sometimes the data are given in inches and foot, but the multi-choice answer may be in millimeter or meter. So be careful with the unit conversion. API never uses the following types of answers, like all of the above or none of the above or both A and B. There would be one single answer as the best answer. Use common sense, reason it out. Don't read too much into question. Read it carefully, but not too much. So it's likely a correct answer to a very easy question. A lot of questions are derived from basics, definition, meaning, scope, exclusions, inclusions. So because this is a basic exam, you should know the basics, the concepts, and you should know exactly what this vocabulary means. Terms, definitions, meanings. Always try the PDF copy of reference documents, because that's what you get during the exam without the search button. So try to not use the search button when you're actually solving the exam. The mock exams or our practice questions, and also do the calculation type of our mock exam question yourself. So no matter how simple it is, so that would avoid any silly mistake that you might make during the actual exam. And also you should know how to navigate through, because the search button is disabled. Sitting for exam can be really stressful, considering this is a day-long exam, 7 or 8 half hours plus the security check and all those. So try to sleep early the night before, stop reading on the exam day, just peruse through the important parts of the reference documents, look at the figures and charts, especially on flashcards. Let your brain rest. You need to be alert and full of energy to endure the day-long core exam. During the exam, you can increase your chances of choosing the correct answer by eliminating the obvious wrong answer. To eliminate them, hold the mouse on the answer you think is wrong and right-click. It will cross it, helping you to concentrate on the remaining possible answers. In practice sessions and the mock exams, try actually solving the calculation type mock exam question on paper, not in your mind, even though it's a simple mathematical equation and looks easy. Until you don't practice solving the question, you won't get the feel of it. Practice also helps you solving the calculation a lot faster and avoiding silly mistakes. Significant number of questions is aimed at verifying your comprehension of principles and theory. So try to understand the basics rather than simply memorizing the number. This is very important. Remember that API does not normally want you to memorize the numbers or formula during the closed book examination, unless extensively used in the industry on a day-to-day basis by the inspector or specifically mentioned in the body of knowledge. So that most of these sort of questions that you need to refer to a table or a graph or a figure or formula, it comes in a open book part. Some questions include irrelevant information that might look confusing. API wants to verify that you can differentiate between the relevant and non-relevant information in the actual scenario. They are not going to trick you. So that's what happens in actual scenario. And now the trick is here to understand the question, what is wanted, and then look at the relevant formula to find out what information is needed to calculate the answer. Okay, and you forget about the rest. Pay particular attention to charts, tables, figures, and also the footnotes. They're very important with the reference documents, and try to understand the rationale. We shall explain major tables and charts and figures during our e-learning course and classroom training. And during open book examination, if you can't find the topic within a code, look at the table of content. If you can't find it there, look at the list of figures or list of tables. They're much shorter and they're quicker to scan through. If you still can't find it within 1 to 2 minutes, then flag it up, make a note of question number on a paper, go to the next question. There's a high chance of encountering that specific topic when looking for other topics or subsequent question, in which case you can go back to that flagged up one and solve it easily. So don't waste more than 2 minutes on a open book or more than 1 minute on a closed book on average.